Hello, this is my risk management video for week 5. What is a risk register and why is it used? I'm going to keep using the example I used for my essay, where I used to own a restaurant and we remodeled, and that was a project in itself. So when we remodeled, we came up with a list of problems, risks that we had in and doing some of the things that some of the remodeling that we plan on doing. So on a risk register, we would have the natures, which would be the type of risk, the level, how severe is it? Do we need to do it or does it need to be done? Owner, it was who's the most capable of fixing it or getting it done. And then the plan, how and when is it going to get resolved? What is project risk control? Why is it important? Project risk control keeps risk from disrupting a project. So once you identify your risks, you come up with mitigation plans. If you don't do this, unchecked risk can become disasters, cause delays, unnecessary expenses, and end projects. For us, we identified all the things that needed to be done, and then we had a plan for it. So when something did happen, we were already on top of it. If something happens that you didn't think about, but if you did a thorough risk assessment, you should have something similar or closely related to it that you can address it with. When would you create a risk assessment chart? So once you come up with risk controls, you want to make it a visual. You want to be able to chart it and track it just from looking up at a chart. So it's more deliberate monitoring and gives everyone a risk control visual. Heat maps, high, medium, low rankings, and expected value approach. Those are 3 ways that you can use to track risk assessments. And from it, you can look at something and know where it's at and who's doing it and where's it going. What is contained in a risk mitigation matrix? It's also known as the probability and severity risk matrix. So once you have a mitigation plan, you come up with a matrix on how you're going to get it done. So the risk is identified, the likelihood, the consequences, the risk rating, the action plan. That all goes into the matrix to show where it's at, how it's getting done, and who's doing it. This is an example of the probability and impact matrix. So for my restaurant, let's say something not meeting city code would be on the extreme column of the impact spectrum and very likely on the probability. So that would get the most attention and make sure that we get that one done right. And something trivial and rare would go under the top left corner as low. When thinking about your specific project, how will your team determine the various project risks and come to a consensus regarding the risks? For my example, we came up with all the risks, we wrote them down, and then we addressed them and we did an assessment. We weren't that formal as we've been in this class, but we came up with who was going to get what done and what funds did we have and who's going to do it. And then we made plans to meet and check up on each other. Many risks, especially the probability and impact, can be subjective. How do project managers reduce the subjectivity of the probability and impact on a project? A technique used to reduce the subjectivity is called the state of nature. On it, the probability is inferred from the description of the state. So you come up with the risk and you write down all the alternative situations that come with it, with those risks. And then you rate the risk on where it's at and which scenarios it's sitting on. So for example, for me, on my restaurant, it would have been the city code, our remodeling meeting the city code. So what are the different scenarios that could come if we don't get it done? We would have done that instead of making opinions about it. So the subjectivity would have gotten rid of all those opinions. These are my references. Thank you.